What's up, everybody? I'm Jean, and I want us to take part in the conversation on media literacy that asks, what might God have to say about all of this? Obviously, media now isn't the same as media back then. The 10 Commandments didn't get airdropped to Moses when shared across social media platforms. Paul didn't create a podcast to get messages to the churches of his time. And while Jesus didn't mention TikTok, HBO Max, or Hulu, today we're talking about one idea that might change how you relate to media. Let's talk about it. Today, we're talking about media literacy. Why? Because media is literally everywhere. And it's not just everywhere, it has an impact on us. Movies invite us to experience stories that make us feel big emotions, from inspired to nostalgic to terrified to delighted. Search engines offer us all kinds of information, from help with homework to play-by-play sports stats to random facts. Books let us dive deep on specific topics, from space travel to world religions to history and futuristic ideas. Media is how we keep up with the world. There are think pieces, articles, posts from our favorite accounts, news outlets, you name it. We consume it via media. And media is powerful. I remember when I was in high school, it seemed like everyone was getting their teeth whitened. And by everyone, I mean people that I didn't even really know, pretty much celebrities. And at that time, it was like the whitening strips were all coming out, and it was like a brand new thing. I saw them in magazines and on billboards, on TV ads. And so I thought maybe I should just try it myself, right? I feel like I could have some improvement on what I look like. And so I got some and I put them on, and they were gooey and they stung my teeth, and my teeth were just all sensitive. It was the worst experience ever. Isn't it true that media, whether digital or analog, has an effect on us? Okay, so share about a time something you saw through media influenced something you did in real life. It could be a purchase, a fashion choice, a repost, a perspective. Take a minute to talk about it. The things we consume have an impact on us. What we take in influences how we see the world. I recently heard a speaker put it this way: the world you live in is the world you live out. The world you live in is the world you live out. He was saying the messages you consume, from movies, search results, books, social media, advertisements, and so much more, create the world you live in. The media and messages you consume shape the way you see the world, and the way you see the world influences how you live your life in that world. You already know this. So what does that mean if every headline is charged with fear or anger? If you consume messages that say the world is unsafe, you live with a bit more fear. What does that mean if the messages on repeat in your world are saying a certain aesthetic is the only way to feel attractive and fulfilled? How does it impact your reality if you live in a world where the message says life is good and full of adventure? If the world you live in is the world you live out, why does it seem like media adds a little more tension in our worlds? Maybe you've experienced one or more of these tensions. Feeling behind. You can't consume content fast enough to stay current on all the topics and trends and accounts you're interested in. Information overload. If everything matters, nothing matters. Bad news or heavy news is everywhere. Humans have a tendency to have a bias towards negative or sensationalized messages, and it can make the world seem more hopeless. Feeling left out. You don't have the same access to tech or media as everyone else, and you're concerned about how it makes you come off to others. What about impulsive checking? You've wondered if you were addicted to a certain platform after mindlessly going to that account too many times, or after doom scrolling long after you plan on exiting out. Or this last one, you have a love-hate relationship with your devices. Can't live with them, can't live without them. Your greatest vices and distractions, and your ability to connect to the world and your friends all in one place. What tensions do you resonate with when it comes to using media? Trying to keep you entertained so that the platforms can keep making ad money. And it's not all bad. Listen, If you have a YouTube channel, I'm rooting for you to get that silver play button and make so much ad money you can buy you and everyone else their dream cars. However, as a user or consumer, doesn't it seem more and more challenging to stop doom scrolling or binge watching? It's like it was designed to keep you addicted. The invention of the endless scroll feature, notifications, vibrations, color enhancers, access to information about people you weren't even thinking about, but now want to know all about. It all became calculated and calibrated to your own personal algorithm that it impacts the wiring of your brain based on dopamine responses. So, how can you tell what's you choosing to be entertained versus what's an impulsive decision? And is it really that harmful? At the end of the day, it's just a little bit of entertainment and fun. It helps make life good, right? With the rise in mental health concerns and its links to social media, the question becomes, how do we work against creating negative cycles and regain control of our pursuit of the truly good life? The kind of good life that produces sincere love, joy, and peace, instead of fear, hate, and anxiety. The kind of life that feels like freedom, not addiction. The kind of good life that helps us see other people as human and not as soulless usernames. Is it possible to navigate the world of media and embrace the kind of good life that Jesus invites us all into? Has media changed how you see the world, whether negatively or positively? How do you stay in control of how you use social media? In the Old Testament of the Bible, there's a collection of books sometimes called the wisdom books. In them are poetry, teachings, and wise sayings. It's like a library filled with knowledge to answer questions like, what kind of world are we living in? And how do I navigate it with wisdom? Like, how do I get the good life? Let's look at something found in one of the books, Proverbs. Here's what it says. Getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do. And whatever else you do, develop good judgment. This short verse has a huge message for us when it comes to navigating our world, and especially the world of media. It's worth memorizing. So go ahead. I'll wait. The writer is sharing some wise advice they received themselves. The chapter starts off saying, "My father taught me," and then begins a list of reminders and encouragement to take wisdom seriously. The play on words by saying getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do is the writer putting huge emphasis on the power of wisdom. It's like they were saying you can never have enough wisdom. It is so important that there is nothing wiser than getting wisdom. They add, on top of that, when you're not working on getting wisdom, like in your free time, be working on developing good judgment. When we imagine the wisest person we know, it's easy to assume they've always been wise. They were born wise, or maybe they woke up one day, turned a magical age, and all of a sudden, they had wisdom. The truth is, this verse gives us two clues about wisdom. The words getting and develop tell us that we have an ongoing part to play when it comes to acquiring wisdom. We have to go after it. Be attentive when there's an opportunity to grasp wisdom. When you make a mistake and there's a lesson to learn, pause long enough to study what you can do better next time. And don't worry about messing up or not getting something right. It goes on to say, develop good judgment. Developing a skill means getting enough practice that you'll actually get better and better at it over time. Practice means we won't get it perfect every time. practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes progress. Choose wisdom. Develop judgment. Experience freedom. Developing disciplines and putting what you've learned into practice was a way of life for Jesus. Jesus constantly invited his followers to put it into practice, the things they were learning. Jesus lived in a way that put into practice several skills and habits that shaped his relationship with God and modeled what it looked like for us to grow in love and devotion in our relationship with God and others. This idea of practice means intentionally doing an action over and over again to learn and improve. When the writer of Proverbs says develop good judgment, they understand that the act of getting better and better at good judgment is what helps you think critically and navigate away from unwise things and towards wise decisions. What does all of this have to do with media literacy? Here's the point. It will take wisdom and good judgment to navigate all the messages, media, and methods that media throws at us. So, how do you sort the wise from the unwise, the good from the bad? What's one encounter with media that you've had that required wisdom to navigate? Here are 3 practices to help you shape your relationship with media. Pick just one, or even come up with your own. Choose to develop it and put it into practice. And we put them in rhymes so that maybe it will help you remember. 1, dream the extreme. When you encounter a piece of media, imagine for a split second, or even dream for a split second. If I were to hear this message 1,000 more times, what kind of world would I be creating for myself to live in? If I were to see this image 1,000 more times, what new ideas would it cause me to have? How might turning the volume up all the way on this affect myself and others? 2nd, decide before you arrive. Be more intentional with your media usage by deciding what you're going to search before you open the platform. What if you practice this every now and then? Practice not being distracted by whatever greets you on the first page. Pre-decide how much time you're going to spend and set a timer. And 3, call out the shout. Okay, so we got a little creative on this one, but basically, practice naming anytime you read or come across a headline or a piece of content that has turned the volume up all the way to some sort of extreme. It's basically saying, look at this next, then this. It's the headlines that use words like most, biggest, scariest. It's the headlines that use absolutes like always, never, every time. You know, the videos on like how to get the perfect lash application every time, or how to reach your highest potential in the court every day. These 3 ideas are just 3 out of many. What are some things you can put into practice when it comes to media literacy? Imagine the full joy and freedom that comes with being empowered to choose how you spend your time. Imagine the mental clarity that becomes available as we choose to be in control of how we interact with media. You have what it takes to navigate the ever-growing world of media in a way that makes space for meaningful connection with God, with life, and with others.
I hope that you took a lot of notes and that you learned a lot from this session. I implore you to continue to sharpen your judgment and wisdom as you continue to use social media. I hope that media literacy is something that you continue to keep in the forefront of your mind, and that you rely on God in your relationship with Him while using social media. I hope you have a great week. Bye.